But how many of you know someone is always ready to complain before they're ready to lead? Moses' masterclass cost them a lifetime of investment. Leaders need to be loyal to the truth above everything else. Welcome to PSA. My name is Felix if you're new here, and if you're back, I want to thank you again. You know, we've been posting these videos every Sunday for almost a year now. I want to challenge you to keep sharing them because we're bringing new people value every time we do. So as many of you may know, I skateboarded professionally for most of my life, and my 4-year-old son has been taking to it as well. This week, he started dropping in on a ramp on his own. Now, I have led and mentored more teams and people than I have time to name right now, but nothing has hit me as close to home as watching my son learn. My son has dove into these ramps before. He kind of has the heart of a lion, to match his name, but it was up to me to decide when I would let him go and lead him to the point where I could trust him to drop in all by himself on his skateboard. He trusts me because of all the time I spent walking with him, holding his hand, running side by side with him, catching him when he took that risk that was too much and fell. All of these times have built up to the moment when I decided to let him drop in on his own as I lead him right past me. I have led so many people past me. A good leader never stops learning that lesson. When a leader thinks he can no longer learn, that's when he is no longer ready to lead. Leadership is like water flowing through a pipe. It flows in both directions, but if the flow clogs, if the leader becomes too proud to learn, the pipe bursts and everything becomes a mess. In the scriptures, Moses is a celebrated leader with a colorful past, to say the least, and a rich story about leading right up until the day that he died. Now, I want to highlight a moment that I found very relatable to what I'm going through right now and what we're discussing. Moses and Israel, the people that he was leading, wandered in this desert en route of the promised land to them by God for 40 years. That trip should have only taken a little over a week. At one point, Israel was so frustrated that they spited Moses by saying they would rather go back to Egypt and be slaves than follow him. Note, it doesn't document much about the followers stepping up to lead and help alleviate the load that Moses was bearing. But how many of you know someone is always ready to complain before they're ready to lead? Your leadership is not measured by the number of followers. It is better measured by the number of leaders you retain and build up. If not, when you die, you are just going to have a bunch of followers and no one to lead them. Ask yourself, what leadership skills were being built up during those 40 years walking side by side together? So Moses ends up leading his people up to the promised land and then sent 12 of his leaders in to see what they would face upon entering it. 10 came back with a negative review, a little bit scared, but Joshua and Caleb came back with a good report, believing what God had said to them and that they could succeed. I'm going to pick up in the story in Deuteronomy 31:7, where Moses is appointing Joshua in front of the tribe of Israel, and he says, "Then Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the presence of all of Israel, 'Be strong and courageous, for you must go with this people into the land that the Lord has swore to their ancestors to give to them.'" The scriptures say many are called and few are chosen, but I would like to add to that, even less step up. Joshua and Caleb stepped up to the call. Moses led Israel to the promised land and then let Joshua lead them right past him into it. People will preach about leadership all day, but when you step up and lead, they will check you because they only really wanted you to follow them. People will teach you about communication, but did not have time to speak to you. What was once investing in people and mentoring has now become a master class and no longer a relationship. If you have to pay someone to speak to them, that's not a relationship, that is a therapist. Moses' master class cost them a lifetime of investment. Don't measure a leader solely by how great he is. Measure him by how many and how great the people are he led past them and how they are doing. In society, we are so focused on the next generation that we forget to honor the generation that kept them alive and put them on game right before them. What is your promised land? Who is helping you arrive there? People who want to see you win, help you win. If you are serving someone else's vision who doesn't know your name and you don't have their phone number and they haven't been to your house, they are not trying to help you win. They want you to keep them winning. Leaders need to be loyal to the truth above everything else. When you withhold facts, you're not loyal, you are misleading. And if you think there is no honor in leading people past you, it might be your ego that needs tending to. At the end of Moses' story, in Deuteronomy 34:4, it says, "Then the Lord said to him, 'This is the land I promised on the oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob when I said, I will give it to your descendants. I have let you see it with your own eyes, but I will not let you cross over into it.' And then Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the Moab, as the Lord had said, and he buried him." God buried him. The creator of the universe laid his trusted leader to rest. Leaders are called to stand in for God here in the world, exercising wise stewardship and best practices over his word as a visible representation of God in our presence. Leaders build leaders, not followers. There's so much goodness in these scriptures. We could go on forever and ever, but I'll leave you with this. In Deuteronomy 31:23, it says, "The Lord gave this command to Joshua, son of Nun. Be strong and courageous, for you will bring the Israelites into the land I promised them on the oath, and I myself will be with you." It is the same past, present, and future God who stayed true for the generations of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and for Moses and Joshua, and will stay true for you. Let's not take 40 years wandering to learn these leadership lessons the hard way. And remember, a rising tide lifts all ships. So let's make sure we always are looking to lift someone else up with us. And until next week, let's love more, and I'll see you at the next PSA. Thanks for joining me for another week. I hope you found some value in this leadership message. Please take a moment and leave some tips in the comments on what's working for you. I'm looking forward to learning as well. Check out some of these messages, share them with the first person that comes to mind, and I'll see you guys next time.